Hello and welcome to the second ever episode on Sport is for the People. Today we're going to be talking all about UFC. I've got 4 guests with me. I've got Dan Pateman, Ed Postins, Joe Simpson and Owen Gower. To start off, we're going to talk about how the coronavirus has affected the UFC and how the viewing has changed and whether you actually quite enjoy listening to the corners and the fighters. So to start off, I'll pass over to Owen.
I definitely prefer it. I prefer it, and I like the fact that they can hear each other's corners. I think it makes it a lot more interesting, and it shows how you should have a lot of trust for your corners as well. And it's nice to be able to hear it, to see how much people do listen to their corners. And it's quite surprising how some people don't listen at all. And it's, but yeah, no, I definitely prefer it.
How about you, Ed?
Yeah, well, like Owen was saying, so like a perfect example of people listening to their corners is the Gagey Ferguson fight, where Gagey, like, if you said something, that guy would do it. If you said jump right now, he would have done it without even questioning it. And a perfect example of someone not listening to their corners is the Woodley Burns fight that I'm sure we're going to touch on later, where they kept saying to Woodley, hey, you need to do this. And he just went, fuck you, I'm a rap star, and just didn't do it at all. So I think it's better, like, you can hear the impact of the shots better. You can, like you say, you can hear the corners. The corners can hear Joe Rogan's input,
I find that interesting.
like, which is mega. And like everyone, there's no more closed circuit anymore where it's, you know, a bit of a mystery. Everyone hears everything. Everyone knows what's going on, and you have to be able to adjust accordingly.
See,
I like it as well.
I've never fought in like the octagon or a ring, but I can imagine if you can hear the other person's corner, that might get in your head a little bit.
Yeah, it's like I had a bit of a scrap a while back, and I heard the guy like ushering his mate on and giving him tips just before we started, and then I was literally like, "Well, now I know what to look out for. Cheers, buddy."
Exactly.
You're an idiot.
Joe, you've been watching it.
The thing is, if you solely trust your corner and you do it as they are saying it, you still have the upper hand. But if they've got to call it to you, the person's going to have more and more time to prepare for what you're being told to do.
Yeah, they're giving you hopefully weapons that you can use. That's the idea. Regardless of whether the other person knows about it or not, it should still be like, if I said, well, you've got a gun and he's got a gun, I can still use my gun if you know I've got a gun. It doesn't take the gun away. Yeah. It's still a thing.
It's probably strange at the same time, because like the thing is, I found when I've been competing in jits or MMA, if I heard the crowd and something's going on, it can kind of build you up at the same time. So like with them not being there, you kind of like, the feeling must change very differently.
Do you reckon that can work
in any sport, isn't it? Like, you know, if a team's down and you've got a crowd cheering you on, it builds you up to want to do more and work harder.
Do you think that could be a positive thing, though, because there's less pressure depending on what sort of fighter there is? Like Tyrone Woodley that we're going to talk about later.
It's probably not down to pressure, because the thing is, after you got to where they are, pressure probably doesn't come down as a factor as much.
All right, but maybe not pressure, but like we said, Woodley definitely needed to attack more in the last 2 rounds. Do you reckon if there was a crowd, perhaps not necessarily booing, but giving him that bit of impetus?
It's something that might help. Something that might give him
he didn't attack
that extra push that he needed.
Yeah, I think it'll definitely, for certain fighters, maybe it will definitely have an effect where, like, say, if you've got someone who's a bit of a headhunter like Francis Ngannou, if he lands a big shot and the crowd goes crazy, he's like, oh, I'm going to finish this fool right now. But the trouble is with Woodley, like, when it comes to his fighting, he always seems to have, whenever you see him struggling, he always seems to have this attitude where, like, no, this will definitely work out. I'll definitely, my corner's saying I should do this, but I'll definitely just do what I'm going to do. Because his game plan, if you watch his fights, doesn't seem to change no matter what his corner says. He seems to stick down the line of what he's been doing and what has succeeded for him. So I think in some ways it'll have an effect, but for some fighters, I think they just completely.
What about you, Joe? Anyway.
Yeah. So as far as like the crowd goes, Justin Gaethje was talking about it, because obviously, I know he's a skilled fighter, but he is a massive headhunter as well. And he was saying that when he was hurting Tony, if he had the crowd cheering him on and stuff like that, and reacting to when he was hurting Tony, he wouldn't listen to his coaches, he would just try and knock him out. But obviously, because he didn't have the crowd spurring him on constantly, he just had his corner giving him sound advice that kept him composed, which I thought was really interesting. And also, I do love the fact that you can hear when people are landing shots. I absolutely love that. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it does. It echoes, doesn't it? It echoes a lot more, and you can not feel the power more, but you definitely get a better perspective, don't you?
Yeah, it sounds solid.
Since we're touching on the Woodley fight anyway, we'll go straight there. Woodley Burns, I thought Burns was absolutely phenomenal. I thought he didn't give him an inch to move. He was constantly pressuring. I think he's got to be up for a title fight next. We'll go to Dan. What do you think?
Well, Burns, obviously great. You know that everything he was doing was well. His wrestling is obviously absolutely incredible. He's known for his wrestling and he's known for his jits. That's probably his strongest points. But like I felt in this fight, his grappling probably didn't show what it was because his striking was so good. Like, you know, like I felt like Tyrone didn't really have an answer for anything he was doing. Like, you know, at some points of the fight, his takedown defense was well, Tyrone. But as I said, like a fighter like Burns, I always thought he was going to win straight from the start, really. But like Tyrone was different in this fight. I felt like since his last fight, like he kind of seemed a bit timid, a bit slow. Like he's normally like fast out, explosive, high burst pressure, but he seemed like really reserved, held back. He didn't really like hold that pressure that he normally maintains. And I kind of felt that might have been his downfall of this fight with such a powerful person like Burns.
His last fight was a loss, wasn't it, before this?
Yeah.
Do you reckon that potentially got into his head? Because I reckon,
so.
especially without a crowd, maybe with a crowd, he might have given him the edge to try and come back. But it didn't look like he wanted it, if that's the right way. He didn't want it, did he?
As I said, he seemed very timid. Like, you know, he didn't seem his usual, as like we were saying about earlier, like, you know, he normally he wants to knock you out, like, you know. It didn't seem like he had the heart this time.
I thought, especially because if you look at the last couple of minutes of the last round, he knows he's down on the scorecards, but he didn't try and throw that many bombs. He didn't try.
He just clinched him. It wasn't even a real clinch. He was just body locking him and leaning in, and then he wouldn't even separate. Like he wasn't doing anything to achieve anything. He'd wrap. Like in my head, without being like obviously to any pro fighters, he's obviously a former world champion. He had given that fight up, basically.
Yeah, definitely. I've given up on it as well. Like, you know, like a prime example is his fight. Well, both his fights against Stephen Thompson. Like in both fights, Stephen Thompson definitely hurt him like a very few times. And like the thing is, he just bounced straight back. He like responded instantly. Where in this fight, when he was getting hurt and he was getting hit, there was no instant response. He kind of just sat back, as I said. Like, you know,
and
like
Burns got a takedown as well. Burns got a slick takedown. That's the big. If you're a high level wrestler and you've got guys taking you down, you're like, I don't want to steam in now with a big overhand because if he times it, I'm straight on my back.
A few times he's done that as well when Tyrone threw like a few overhands. So, like, you know, he's dropping down, shooting.
Down.
Like, no,
getting that underhook, and that's what won it for him on the ground and his wrestling. Is every time if you watch, he's getting that underhook, which enables him to get the space to explode out. I think if it wasn't for that underhook, there would have been a lot more jits involved. But I tell you what, Burns' octagon control was just incredible.
Woodley was letting him as well, though, to a degree.
Yeah, he kept him on, and he just walked him down. And those leg kicks. I mean,
nasty.
He landed 26 leg kicks, and they were powerful. They were doing their damage, and and on that fight card in the prelims, they had a leg kick, the 10th leg kick TKO. Yeah. And I tell you what, I swear by leg kicks, I think they'd win you any fight. But once you get that,
they're vastly underestimated. People go, I can absorb like 3 or 4 and it's not that bad. But by the time you've absorbed 3 or 4, your movements are shot. If someone's
you soften up, haven't you? That's right.
Yeah, and then you can't get away from anything. You're just like, this is it now. This is my life. My life is just getting my legs kicked.
Once your footwork goes, that's it.
That's it, man.
You slow down, your movement's gone.
Yeah.
You can take 3 or 4 punches and get back up. You can take 3 or 4 leg kicks, but the damage is a lot longer lasting than 3 punches to the face, isn't it? Joe, what did you think about the fight?
Sorry. I thought it was a brilliant performance from Burns. I thought the way he mixed up, obviously, grappling and striking was phenomenal. And again, just to back on the leg kicks, another thing that I love about it, obviously, not only that it just disables you somewhat, also it gives you something else to worry about. I'm going to touch on that a little bit later on one of the future fights that I want. But yeah, I love that. I love that he wasn't just headhunting. He was going for the legs, body, and heads. Then he was shooting. He was constantly giving Woodley something to worry about, which I thought was a massive.
He changed levels really well, didn't he?
Yeah, massively.
They looked like they were in different leagues. They looked like you called someone up from the amateurs. Like that was crazy.
Yeah, and against someone like Tyron Woodley, a former champion, to do that is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Go on, one of you, Owen.
Story would have been a different story.
Yeah. So that's basically what we've said. Leg kicks are awesome, and punch people in the face a lot.
That's it. I believe we have an expert in the women's matches with us, Dan Pateman. Would you like to go over the women's match?
Well, I probably wouldn't say an expert, mate, but it's just something that I really like. I've trained grappling for many years, and it's just something that I'm very interested in. So, when you've got such a dominant grappler such as Darren, because even before she went into MMA, she was a world champion in jiu-jitsu, no gi, she's an absolutely incredible grappler. And the thing is that I found sometimes with grappling in MMA, people find it's very boring, and that's due to a lack of understanding. Mm-hmm. Because you don't understand what is going on, people class it as being boring, because they're not getting punched in the face or whatever. But 9 times out of 10, between the wrestling and the jiu, it's a lot more technical than the actual stand-up itself. That's not putting anything off people who just box and do kickboxing or whatever. It's just a lot more technical. And it was just her transitions between each movement she was doing before she even got to the knee bar. Just in that specific movement itself, she went for a straight ankle lock, transitioned over to a heel hook, and then the heel hook didn't work, and she rolled over and eventually finished with the knee bar. But if you don't really follow grappling, all you'll see is her just holding on to somebody's leg and squeezing it.
It was very smooth, wasn't it?
Where it was very smooth, yeah. But as I said, in that small transition, was 3 submission attempts. Just in that
quick as well. That was in what, 15 seconds or something? She went bam, bam, bam.
Exactly.
Yeah, literally.
And obviously, something that was impressive as well was it's the first female fighter to obviously ever win by a knee bar, a straight leg lock, or whatever, any form of leg lock as well. So obviously, that's something very impressive as well.
Ideal. I was going to, Joe, did you watch the women's fight?
I didn't watch the fight. I just wanted to comment on...
He's not allowed to watch women on TV.
Yeah, I'm not allowed.
He's not allowed in case he gets attracted to any of the women.
All right, come on.
That's why I'm allowed to watch Chris Cyborg.
You're about to get hate mail.
Yeah. I just want to back quickly off what Dan said about when people they're uneducated in grappling. I absolutely love it when people say, why don't they just get up when someone's on top of someone's on top of someone else? Just get up. I just love that. But,
just get up whilst getting elbowed in the head simultaneously.
Exactly. But anyone who watched the women's fight, they can discuss it because I didn't see it.
I saw it, but obviously Pate's already touched upon pretty much everything. Like he said, not only is she a ridiculous submission specialist, the way she transitions from one move to another move to another move, you're defending one move, before you've even finished defending that, there's another one already on top of you. You manage to catch up to yourself and try and defend that, and then before you know it, she's already moved on to the next one. It's just, when people chain stuff together like that, if the first one doesn't get you, the second one will, or the third one will, or the fourth one will.
One step ahead, meant planning-wise, wasn't she?
Yeah, literally.
She knew how she was going to defend and how to then attack that defense.
It's a game of chess on the floor.
It is a game of chess, yeah. And it's down to the other person's movement as well.
It's a real old fight.
It's a responsive sport.
If anyone's seen Big Nog versus, I think it's Tim Sylvia, they're on the floor, and this is an example of planning ahead. He's got him in, he's starting to get him in a bit of a guillotine, and it looks like Tim Silver's going to pop out of it. But what's actually happened is he's tucked his head, so Big Nog can't get the full guillotine. He gives him a little bit of leeway, goes to pull his head out, bam, straight away. Like, you're thinking several moves ahead. You're setting traps, you're putting decoys in there. You might not even want that first submission. You might want the fourth submission, but you're going for it because if she does this, I've got this, and then bam, bam, bam. And it's just like people, like you say, if people say that wrestling or grappling is boring, they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
It's because of what, as I said, it's down to that, like, not understanding it, isn't it? That's all it is.
Literally.
Like stand up, like boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai. It's very easy to understand, even from someone who hasn't trained anything, because you kind of get this like gist of what they should be doing.
One in the face, they know what to use, but you tell it.
Where wrestling and jiu-jitsu, it's a very unnatural thing. Like, if you get two random guys in the street, never trained anything in their life, stand them up in front of each other and say fight, they're going to be able to fight. They might not be able to fight technically well, but they will be able to fight. Where if you get two guys, say, sit down on your ass and have a grappling match and do one tap, they're going to go, we don't know what to do. It's not very natural. It's not a natural thing.
I had a guy once, this is when Ronda Rousey was at the height of her fame, literally tell me that he didn't believe that women should be fighting, right? When Ronda Rousey was one of the biggest stars, sports-wise, on the face of the planet. And then genuinely said to me, yeah, but all that shit they do on the ground, what's that? That's not real fighting. I want to be like, do you want to know how many people I've made unconscious with stuff like that? Like, so many people. Like,
I would like to point out that this program does not condemn any of those behaviours.
No, just in training, obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah.
To get warm in here.
Yeah, when Ronda Rousey broke me his arm, that was just nothing.
Like, literally, like, that's not real fighting. Well, her bone is sticking out of her skin, and that looks pretty real. So
arms facing the other way though.
Yeah, like, no, get up and fight me now. Go on, let's see what happens.
Exactly. Right, guys, we're going to go on to our three big fights. I'd like to say mine first. You guys know a lot more technically than I do, but these are the ones I would like to see. I'd like to see Adesanya v Costa, because I think Adesanya is a great kickboxer, obviously known for his displays, and Costa is a great Muay Thai fighter, and he's undefeated, I think, at the moment, so I think that would be a good fight to match up this year. I've gone for McGregor versus Masvidal, just because I want to hear the trash talking before. The fight will be good enough, but the trash talking before will be absolutely off the charts.
That'll be a big sell as well.
That'll be massive pay-per-view. Exactly. Yeah. And I've gone for, I'm not sure if it's been officially announced yet, but Khabib versus Justin Gaethje. I think that would be a brilliant fight.
Justin who?
I can't pronounce his second name, right? Justin, you know what I mean. You know who I mean.
Yeah.
I
don't know that guy. Is that a new guy?
He's going to get you, all right? He's going to get you. But I think that'll be my three fights. So, Joe, what about you?
So mine is Daniel Cormier versus Stipe Miocic, obviously a trilogy fight.
Joe, you're a prick. That was mine.
Pardon?
That was my fight. You're a prick.
Yes, I really want to see that fight. And also, I completely forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, so I watched obviously both fights, and I thought a massive thing that Stipe did wrong. Obviously, I'm not at that level, so I'm just talking from an outside perspective. But he was trying to like dirty box with Daniel Cormier, and I think Daniel Cormier can beat most people dirty boxing, even Jones. But I think if he mixed it up like Burns did with leg kicks, maybe not so much with takedowns, because he'd struggle massively with Cormier. But even if he feinted just so he pretends the threat is there and mix up his attacks, I think that Stipe could win that. My other one is Justin Gaethje versus Khabib. I think obviously the favourite would be Khabib, but I think Justin has a really good chance of winning because he's got brilliant wrestling. Obviously, he doesn't use it an awful lot, but I think he'll be forced to use it in this fight.
Oh, yeah.
And especially his wrestling defense, I think that would be paramount in him winning this fight. And obviously, he hits like an absolute train as well. So, yeah, that will play a massive factor if he can keep Khabib standing. And the last one is Israel Adesanya versus Darren Till. Yeah, kind of similar to what you said about Costa and Adesanya, really, because obviously Darren Till is Muay Thai and Adesanya is kickboxing, so I think it'd be a great clash of striking styles. And I think the smack talk would be amazing as well.
Yeah, they sound good. I would say obviously I said Khabib versus Justin. I know him by his first name, so we're close like that. Yeah, Khabib versus Justin. Do you think that would just be another Khabib mauling, get him on the ground? That would be a game plan?
100%. It's going to be Khabib shooting, take down, dominate, pound his face.
See,
Generally, that would be like the thing is with Khabib is he's one of them rare breeds that can make a world champion fighter look an amateur.
Yeah,
like he's done it so many times to so many fighters where like their striking is incredible and their like wrestling is also incredible at the same time. But the thing is, Khabib's just another animal when it comes to grappling. Me personally, I don't think there's anyone right now who can beat Khabib.
No, do you think Justin, obviously with the whole Tony fight, I was expecting Tony Ferguson to win, and Tony Ferguson versus Khabib was the next big fight I wanted to see.
That's what I wanted.
But Tony,
it was what I wanted. After Justin's performance, you've got to say the way his stand-up game against Tony Ferguson, who's probably known better for his stand-up than Justin, you've got to put him in for the Khabib fight, surely.
My pick for that fight is definitely Justin.
It probably will happen.
That's my pick.
Like me personally, it's going to be a bad
the guy who lost, then have the match for the belt.
So go on then. Since we all seem quite invested in this fight, we'll go round and we'll say who we think would win in that fight. So me personally, I would be backing Khabib. I think Justin's stand-up game is really strong. But you look at McGregor versus Khabib. McGregor's known for his stand-up. Khabib was the only one to have a knockdown in that whole fight against McGregor. I think Justin's stand-up game is strong, but I think Khabib can withstand McGregor. He can probably withstand Justin, and he'll just take him down and do pretty much the same game plan as McGregor for me. Owen?
I have to go with Khabib. Yeah. His sambo and his wrestling is so next level, and I've seen a Division 1 wrestler take on a Jits black belt, three stripes, and I think when you have that pressure on someone, it doesn't matter, because jiu-jitsu works, and jiu-jitsu is all about movement and space and keeping the space. So if you take all that space away and you keep that pressure on someone, it not only does it just tire you out, ruins your gas tank, it's just hard to get out, it's hard to recover from. It's like jumping on cling film in water. You're just gonna lose. That's it. They're just on you, smothering you.
What about you, Joe? What would you say the outcome of that fight would be?
Yeah, so I do think Khabib will win. I was just trying to give an argument to Justin as well, because I do definitely think he's got a shot in the fight. But, I mean, Khabib's my favourite fighter, so there's a bit of bias there. But logically as well, he is absolutely phenomenal. Like, I think, like you just mentioned, with his striking, I know a lot of people don't rate his striking really, but regardless how good his striking is, because everyone's so scared of the takedown, that sets up his striking. Like Conor, I don't think Conor would have been caught with that right hand if he wasn't worried about getting shot on. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a massive factor, and he doesn't need to be as good as some of the others at striking when he's got such dominant wrestling. So that's my take. I think
Ed, you said Justin, so let's hear that.
So my argument is, if the Justin that fought Tony Ferguson turns up, then that's a whole different animal than the Justin we've seen when he first made his debut in the UFC and he was swinging for the bleachers and he was getting knocked out. When he's got a solid chin, he was running in with his hands down and running into people's fists, basically. Whereas the Justin that turned up against Tony Ferguson, his boxing was clean, it was crisp. He wasn't trying to kill people, he was just trying to hurt them. And he was hitting them with 80% shots. Like, he hit Tony Ferguson with punches that would have knocked down a building, to be fair. And they weren't just hard punches, they were precise punches. They were real. His striking was off the chain. For MMA boxing, it was a very high level.
It was good. I find it's like, the thing is, like, everyone's talking about, like, the striking of Khabib's opponents, like, but it's the same story. Everyone.
Oh yeah, so
like take off, like Barboza, Johnson,
Barboza, obviously. If you actually look at Khabib's previous opponents, he's not been against that many high-level wrestlers, like real high-level wrestlers. The best examples you've got are unfortunately some of his very earliest fights against guys like Abel Trujillo and Gleason T-Bag. He struggled in those fights. Okay,
What,
he didn't.
Justin, do you think he's on his level?
Sorry,
I don't think Justin's wrestling is good enough.
I don't think his wrestling is on Khabib's level. No one's grappling in MMA is at the same level as Khabib. But it's like saying, you know, if you've got a bulletproof vest and it's rated to a certain caliber, say it's rated to 5.56, if you put a 7.62 in it, it still stops some of the damage. It still gives you some defense against the onslaught. He doesn't need to be a better grappler than Khabib. He just needs to be a good enough grappler to keep Khabib off him for long enough. Okay, the striking difference between the two is vast.
Oh, it's absolutely insane. But and
the thing is,
there's a massive difference between Khabib and Johnson. Like Johnson, incredible fighter himself.
I think
striking is incredible.
If anyone in the UFC has got a chance of beating Khabib, because he is on another level. His grappling is ridiculous. His pace, his pressure, just everything. Like, you know, when he punches people, I think about converting to Islam. It's a nightmare. It just looks horrible. Okay, but if anyone's got a chance, I think Ferguson has got the best chance in MMA in any of the other divisions or any other competition, any other organizations. I think he's got the best chance of anyone. And I say it's probably a 60-40 fight to Khabib, but I do think there's a possible chance of an upset. And I'd like to go with the upset just because I want to be a bit crazy. I want to be a bit out there. You know, the weird uncle that turns up and gets strong.
And the thing is, if you look from when Justin fought Michael Bisping, when he first came into the UFC, because he was big in MMA before then, and then he came over to the UFC. When they first fought, Michael Bisping outstruck him really well. And for someone, I'm not taking away anything from Michael Bisping, but he's a bit of a brawler. He doesn't come from sharp shots. He comes from heavy shots.
He's better now. He's much better. Like, the end of his career was better.
If you look at where Justin has been and where he's come from to now, the difference is so insane. But if you watch Khabib, it's the same story every time. Yeah, that story works. It comes out, and he comes out on top every time. I can't take that away from him, but the improvements that Justin are making is in the right direction to definitely.
So, Owen, what were your 3 fights then?
I've got 6, so I've got 3 money fights.
You got 6 fights. I tell you to come up with 3 fights because I don't want to be on for an hour. And there was like, I've got the whole fucking card sorted.
He's just showing off now.
My island is sorted.
I know the difference between 3 and 6. Okay.
No. So I've got 3 money fights and 3 fights that I think will be good matches.
Right. Come on, man. We've all got places to be. Like,
Joe's got his missus telling him to come to bed, so you know.
She's gonna turn off the Wi-Fi in a minute. All right.
So my money fights are Jones versus Brock Lesnar. Now, it's a dream.
No chance.
It's a dream, I know, but you can't stop me from wanting to see that.
That's a personal favour, isn't it?
I want to see Bruce Lee versus Muhammad Ali as well.
And Khabib versus Ferguson, but the fights I really, really want to see, just out of interest, would be Khabib versus Kamaru Usman. I would love to see that. Especially double title. I've got Nunes versus Valentina Shevchenko. That would be an interesting fight.
What weight would you have it at?
Ideally, I'd want Nunes to come down, but I think they could meet in the middle. And Conor versus Kobe Covington, because that would just be hilarious.
They're all good fights, to be fair. They're all like right out in the realm, but they are good fights.
What about Usman versus Masvidal?
Pardon?
Usman versus Masvidal.
Usman all day.
That would be an day, man. Usman would wrestle the fuck out.
Usman looks like a fucking light heavyweight, man.
Ed, did we go through your 3 fights?
No, because I hate Joe and he stole one of mine. One of them was
Joe Simpson versus John Jones is one I'd love to see.
Joe Simpson, Francis Ngannou. That's on my list now. Just now, I put that on. No, so my top fight is the end of the trilogy between DC and Stipe.
Mm-hmm.
They're both on about retiring. They've both got potential GOAT status at heavyweight. They've both got a good claim to it. And I genuinely think that pretty much whoever wins that fight, depending on how they win it, if it's a split decision, then it's a bit meh. But if they get a knockout or a finish, you can put that person down as the GOAT. You can put the person down as the heavyweight GOAT. Mm-hmm. I don't think Theodore is a heavyweight GOAT because I don't think he fought a high enough class of athlete during his time. And his career now has just taken an absolute nosedive. Like, I think part of the GOAT is also knowing to go, hey, that's it. I've done enough. Time to go.
Yeah.
Instead of getting, BJ penned out of there, like that's not worth it. So that's my fight. Obviously, the first fight was a shock knockout. I didn't really see it come in, although he's obviously like a dirty boxer. It just happened out of nowhere, and everyone blew everyone's mind. Whereas the second fight, DC must have forgot he was a wrestler because he was trying to kickbox with Stipe, and he was doing really well, but I'm sure everyone here probably does this. If you get into a scrap and you're like, well, this hasn't gone how I thought it would go, you go, what am I best at? What should I do now to change I'm going to take this guy down, I'm going to elbow his face into confetti. But he just forgot, and he just kept trying to strike with him. And those body shots looked horrific. I felt them. I still feel them now. I get a stitch walking up the stairs because of those body shots. It's horrible. So that's my top fight. That's got to be it. If it doesn't happen soon, it's never going to happen. It's on that sort of verge now. My second fight is been all over the news at the moment. It's Jones versus Ngannou. And it's just for the freak show factor. Pride never dies. Let's get some weird people in there that shouldn't even be fighting, that aren't even the same weight class, have got completely different skill sets. And let's just watch them fuck each other up. That's what we paid to see.
You mean watch Francis rip Jones' head off?
Jones is an amazing wrestler. I
don't care how technical you are, Jones can get 20 shots in, but if one of Francis touches Jones...
It's like a bullet. If someone shoots at you 30 times, you've got to be lucky every time that they don't hit you. Whereas they've only got to be lucky once. They only need one hit, and that's all it takes.
I will take the nickname Francis Ngannou. Don't worry about it, guys.
I've seen.
That's all I've got in the locker. All right, boys. You all
right. I've seen you punch people. All right.
That's it. That's all I've got in my locker is the one bang, and it works.
It's
effective 99% of the time.
It comes all the way down from your heel.
Yeah. When the guy's like, "Hey, what's that over there?" And Keaton's just like, "Yeah, now's the time. I should hit him now."
It's on its way, bitch. I swear.
Keaton used distract. It was 100% effective.
I can't get here. You are. This is happening. But my third fight is probably going to be, I think, Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman 2. Okay, that fight was super close. If I had to score that fight without obviously the finish, if it carried on the way it was going, I don't know who I'd have scored it for. It was very close. It became a bit of a stand-up war because they're both pretty equal in the wrestling levels. So they didn't want to, although one's Div 1 and one's Div 2, it's not really, it's like splitting hairs almost. Neither of them as wrestling is that good like Khabib's, where they're just phenoms. They were pretty level. And then I genuinely thought, although he had a broken jaw, I still think that was an early stoppage. There wasn't much left of the round. It's a championship fight. It's been a close fight. And the moment he got hit and stepped back, the ref stepped in and stopped it. And I was like, I get you're saying accumulative damage, but let him go. Let's let it go. Let it go for a little bit more. There's only 90 seconds left or something.
Yeah, it wasn't long, was it?
You could have let it slide. So they're my three fights. Two good fights and a freak show. Before
we go on to Dan's three fights, I've forgotten now what fight it was. I thought it was stopped too early. It was in the last couple. It was one of the main events recently, and I think it was stopped too early.
Was it the Cruz fight?
The Cruz?
Dominic Cruz.
Was it one of them had an injury and the doctor stopped it?
I'm not sure.
Don't know.
Maybe.
Stoppage?
Maybe it was a doctor's stoppage. I can't remember what it was. But
Someone Google it on their phone now while we're talking.
I'll Google it while Dan, you go through your 3 fights and I'll have a look.
Checks out. I'd say my 3 that I probably want to watch is one that Ed mentioned, Jones versus Francis Ngannou, just because that's them and it'll be an incredible fight. Purely, it kind of explains itself. I want to see Tony Ferguson versus Conor, just because, again, that'll be another interesting matchup.
Yeah.
And one matchup I want to see from one guy that no longer fights in the show would be Khabib versus McDonald. I want McDonald to come back and fight Khabib.
What weight at?
Because McDonald's wrestling. What weight?
If you could get somebody back to fight Khabib, surely it would be GSP.
That would be a fight.
That would be the sickest fight of all time, I think. Pretty much.
GSP will get slaughtered.
Whoa!
Wait, what weight? What weight?
That is a shout.
At lightweight, I think you're right, Dan. But at welterweight, I think GSP will smash him at welterweight.
You know,
depends on the weight.
Smashed.
So obviously he fought at middleweight.
Whoa! One at a time. Go on, Ed first.
So obviously he fought at middleweight.
Ed first, Dan.
No.
I'll mute you.
You be quiet, all right? So
be careful. There's a pussy on screen. Joe will be called back to the room now.
Closest to a pussy I'm getting for a while. All right. So obviously he fought at middleweight, and he was starting to gas. Like, I'm the world's biggest GSP mark ever. He fought at middleweight. He started to gas. He was starting to slow down, and obviously Bisping is known for just being a volume striker. And I was like, this is it. He's out. Like, he's checking out. But if you saw here pictures of him after the Bisping fight and after his colitis, his digestive problem, he looked super slim, but he didn't look like drained. He just looked, you're walking around at about 170 maybe, because he doesn't walk around at that big. He only walks around normally at about, and he's said this in interviews, he walks around about 180, 185, and then he cuts down to 170. He doesn't like to cut a lot of weight because he believes it affects his performance. If he's walking around a little bit lighter, he can easily cut to lightweight, and I think he'd be a real problem for Khabib. His wrestling is top class.
That's it. That's why that would be the one to watch, wouldn't it? You'd have the wrestling, just have him on the floor. Just say no punches, boys. Just get on the floor, innit?
But it's down to an age thing as well. When you think about it, GSP's going on a little bit, and I don't care what shape your body is in, how much training you do, what you do. Age affects your health and conditioning. Irrelevant of what shape you're in. And GSP, he just won't be able to get in good enough shape. He won't be good enough to fight someone like Khabib, who is active still. Like, if they were both retired for years, and then fair enough.
GSP in his prime, or Khabib in his prime, who do you have win?
What weight?
Prime, I'd say GSP.
I'd say GSP 100%.
Right now, Khabib all day.
The thing is, I also look at it is it's not the age of the model, it's also the miles on the clock. All right, Khabib's style and his style of training, how many times has he been out with injury, how many times he's been injured, he's had long layoffs. His style, and he's said this in interviews, so is Daniel Cormier, so is Cain Velasquez. They've all said they train at a very high intensity style, which is part of the reason why they get injured so much, because they're always going. Whereas GSP's training, he trains with gymnastics teams, he trains with very high level athletes. His training, he doesn't work harder, he works smarter. And he's not that much older than Khabib. He is older, but he's not that much older. And I think physically, his body's probably in better shape. He might not have the chin that Khabib still has, but other than that, I think he's definitely in better shape, I would say. I'd say he's more
he's probably a strong matchup, like, grappling-wise. Because he's always known for his wrestling and grappling. He trains under a very good guy. He trains under John Danaher. He teaches in New York under Gracie. He's a phenomenal grappler. But I don't know. Right now, could be
with the miles on the clock thing. I definitely agree with that. It's, if you see Minotauro Nogueira, he had the chin. He was just accepting punches. Then you watch to the end of his career, he was just getting knocked out.
He was getting dropped by everybody.
It was
I saw him walk into a door once at a press conference and then
knocked out
because he was fucking out.
Hey Dan, Dan, I wanna say as well. When I said I think GSP would smash him, I think I got a bit excited there. I don't think he'd smash him.
Someone said GSP and I couldn't help myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I took that past and I don't know why. I think GSP would. I think GSP would win it.
Getting all emotional.
Yeah.
I can't see you, Joe. You're not on my screen. Are you crying right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, just tearing up a little bit.
Before we go,
GSP losing.
is there any other
I
fight?
think
Is there any other fights that anyone would like to put out there that we haven't mentioned? Who's going to call somebody out?
Several minutes ago.
I'd say the fight that's in talks at the minute with Anderson Silva coming back. That'd be interesting.
You had to go at me for having 6 and now you want another one.
I just thought, if anyone had any before they have to hold their peace.
Anyone said, what's the handsome dude's name? That's not me.
Luke Rockhold, Costa.
No, Costa.
Oh, look at you reeling off the good-looking fellas, Joe. You're like, yeah, I know this one.
None of them were even black as well. I was surprised. I was waiting for Romero and Michael McDonald and all sorts.
We'll leave that there.
I've got one last question.
Go on, Evan.
Favorite out of all time?
Who?
Huh?
Anyone? You all
GSP. Definitely GSP.
GSP.
Favorite knockout, not fighter.
Oh, knockout.
Ooh.
Masvidal versus Ben Askren.
I'd say mine. I can't remember who his opponent was.
I can't remember who it is.
With their spinning heel kick.
Yeah.
Was that the first ever spinning heel kick? That was Terry Etim. That was Terry Etim.
It was just clean.
Yeah, that was a British fighter called Terry Etim. He ran into a bus on purpose 2 years ago, so he's definitely got brain damage now.
Before anyone takes it, Anderson Silva, Vitor Belfort with the front kick.
Oh, front kick.
Yeah.
Mine is Rampage Jackson versus, I think it's Ricardo Arona, the powerbomb.
Oh,
Yeah.
Just insaneness. Like, you can't do that to somebody. That's not okay. He's still there.
Ed,
They
I've
took
seen
the
that
ring
video
down.
of you in North Hill, mate. It was pretty much a powerbomb.
I've got to go. My lawyer's
Oh, you are going, the
Bye.
police are at the door.
Yeah, like, come on. I'm trying to be a paramedic, guy, so I don't need all this.
fucking hell.
Right, we'll leave it there, guys. Thank you very much for coming on tonight, and hopefully see you soon. Cheers, guys.
No worries.
Yeah,
See you later.